His shoes.
I've been listening to you. I've been listening to you all about the Geordies and everything.
Yeah.
Interesting facts.
Interesting fact.
I think it's because the King Geordie is called Jimmy Nail. Obviously, it's a Jimmy Neal. And it's today's news was all about hammering, so it's got to be connected to Jimmy Neal, hasn't it? Really? Anyway, how are you? Let me have a look at you. Because every time I look at you, you look completely different. I don't know how you do it. You're like a Wonder Woman.
Oh, bless you. It's because sometimes my hair is just too frizzy, so I stick it up. Sometimes it's all right, and then other times I want to dress like a lady. Then other times I just want to put a tracksuit on.
Like a lady. So what have you gone for today? You got sort of casual home chic, is that?
Yeah, casual home chic. But I was wearing a grubby t-shirt before and some Adidas tracksuit, and then I thought, no, Susie is going to look divine. So I actually ran upstairs about 10 minutes ago and changed my clothes.
You shouldn't have bothered, because the grubby t-shirt thing, when you were saying that, the Geordie Lodger's eyes were widening. He loves nothing better than a grubby t-shirt.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Oh, I've actually interviewed Jimmy now.
Have you? Oh, she's interviewed Jimmy Neal. What was he like? Was he a bit spiky, or was he nice?
He was really nice, actually. I think I was in awe with Suzi, being a little girl. My nan used to love that, love him on TV. So he's like, wait, ooh. He was like, just he was just on it.
On our feed the same pit. He only did our feed the same. Oh no, he was a detective in something, wasn't he? Was that Crocodile Shoes?
Oh yes.
Remember that? I could never forget it here.
Well, you look fabulous. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you. Now, I can see you're in the kitchen. So I've just told everybody about the Suzy cake that I found online and the way that I messed it up. So I do need to ask you, was it supposed to be self-raising flour or normal flour?
Normal flour.
Yes, you see, I knew. I just ballsed it up.
Didn't you look at the sign I had? Plain flour.
It didn't say plain flour on the recipe. Hey, listen, Jill, have you got another device on there? Because we're getting a slight bit of feedback.
Let me have a look. So what do I need to do? Get a mic or something?
Oh, no, is it? Oh, so it's just your device that's on, is it? There's not two devices on.
No, it's just a little device. Oh, lots of interference on sound. Right, wait there. Can you do a question? Talk to everyone, and I'll just go and say.
Okay, thank you very much for telling me what to do on my own programme. Angellica. What's worse, putting two presenters together? One's like, oh, do I need another mic? You carry on talking, take over, and I'll just go and sort out the technical side of things. That's what you do in lockdown when there's no crew around. Yes, so the cake thing. We thought that everybody could kind of bake along, but it was going to take a little bit too long. So what we've done is we did it yesterday. And if you look on the story on my Instagram page, you'll find the recipe. And it's so easy. I don't want to steal her thunder, but all you do is throw it all in a bowl and throw it in the oven. Don't use self-raising flour like this idiot did here. But honestly, it's really yummy. Is that Michael? Can I hear Michael?
Yeah,
hello.
He's trying to sort it out.
I'm trying to sort it out. I'm trying to sort out the problems. There's problems. I'm trying to sort it out, Susie.
I love it, because Michael's a problem solver. This is wonderful. And Michael,
I don't know. I think Angellica would say I'm a problem causer, not a problem solver. There.
Good morning. It's very nice to see you. I hope we're.
And you too. Morning.
Morning. Michael, why don't you take over for Angellica for 2 minutes, and then we'll have all done like a mini takeover in the presenter challenge.
Somebody said that you need to sit near your mic. I love. Do you know what I love? That everyone's telling us how to be better. I love this. Be better.
Do you know what's funny? I've had yesterday I had Jason Plato on. Everyone's like, what could go wrong? Today I've got, the professional broadcaster Angellica Bell on. I like to think of myself as being quite a professional broadcaster as well. Michael's there. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing's gone right so far. I've ruined the cake and we can't hear each other.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least I can hear you. But listen, this cake, can you hear me a bit? But look, everyone, look at the cake. This is the Suzy cake.
Nice.
Yours looks
and I just thought it was appropriate because you are gooey, chocolatey and moist.
today.
Oh, I love it. I'm just going to sprinkle some. I don't have any icing sugar, so I'm just going to sprinkle some caster sugar on it.
Okay.
Like that. So even if you can't hear me, everyone,
no, we
you can just see it. So I'm going to cut you a slice. Oh, it's so soft and. Look at that.
Oh.
And then I've got some whipping cream that I should have been whipping, but I was out trying to sort the Wi-Fi out.
Okay, do a bit of whipping. I might do a bit of eating of mine. I've got some wild strawberries and wild mint on mine.
Ooh.
No, because I am wild.
I think that you should do the bake-off. You should do Celebrity Bake-Off, or I also think you would be good in the jungle, because the way you're eating that, eating crocodile.
Oh, I'm savage. I probably would be all right in the jungle. I'm so scared of doing things like that, though. I'm terribly nervous about stuff. It's really weird. I'm out of my comfort zone.
Well, listen. That's so for everyone watching. The reason why Suzy and I know each other is because we'd known each other before, like on the circuit and TV stuff. But we did the one show challenge for, was it Sport Relief, where we were on the Volvo 65 and we had to travel around. Yeah, get Suzy on MasterChef.
We had to race from, well, it wasn't really a race because there was no one else in the race, but we had to go from Belfast to London on this racing boat, and it was a proper stripped back racing boat. So I'm going to post some pictures actually later, because I was looking through them last night, Angelica, and I was actually forgetting just the cramped conditions that we had on that boat, and they were quite extreme. We had terrible weather. It was March. It was bloody freezing, and I remember doing a 4-hour shift, because we did 4 hours, and we hot bunks, so we shared bunks. So I was sharing with Alex, and Alex would do her 4 hours, come back. I would do mine, and we had to kind of rope up, so you slept like that. And the boat was always like that anyway, obviously because of the way that it goes. And I remember coming up and doing a 4-hour shift with you, and it was so cold that we did squats to stay warm for nearly 4 hours. That's how cold it was.
So cold. It was horrendous. But we raised loads of money for charity, and we had a good time. And I'll never forget when Tower Bridge, they had to raise the bridge when we got to London, and we came through. It was amazing. So that's when we met, and it's been amazing. Look, this whipping cream is very well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you. Here's your Suzy cake.
Nice. So obviously Angelica's cooking because she won Celebrity MasterChef, and it has given her life, actually, I'm going to ask her about it in a minute when she's finished decorating and plating up, a different turn really. And oh, look at that, it's beautiful. Nice
just for you, Suzy cake.
Thank you. So have a go at home and post your pictures of your cake, and we can all share in the Suzy cake experience. So yeah, talking about MasterChef then, Angelica, it has actually changed your life, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've always liked cooking. People always say to me, how could I cook before? And I did, but you sort of just, cooking you just do, you just get on with it. And my gran was a cook in St. Lucia, and then when she came over here, she cooked. And so I spent all my time with her. When my mum and dad split up, I was always with her in the kitchen. So I just learned. And so she taught me how to do chicken, fish when I was little, fry things. But then when MasterChef contacted me, they were like, will you do the show? And I was like, no. Because you watch these things, you're just like, no, I can't. I don't want the stress. I don't want anything. And also Michael had done it 5 years before I got to the final, and so I just couldn't be, I did not want to have, he'd already spent 5 years going, that's not how John and Greg would do it. And I'm like, this is my kitchen. This is my kitchen. So I thought, if I do it and I don't get to the final, it's just not even worth it. So, but then they messaged me again and said, please, will you do it? And I used to make lots of, I still do, I bring cakes into the one show. So I did the show, and then it totally changed things. I got a cookbook out, but then also as well, I think people just got to see me just without presenting. You have to show your personality. You have to let it go, because it is what it is. If they say you've got an hour to film, you've got an hour to film. There's no extra time. And John and Greg as well, it's all about the food. They know their stuff. And so it was a stressful, intense period. But yeah, I love it. Glad I did it. Of course I'm glad I did it. I won it.
Do you know, do you know what I think, though, about you? When I look back at the things that you've done in your career, because I reckon your career has probably been about the same span as mine, sort of nudging over 20 years. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
20 years? I think that you survived really well under enormous pressure, and you thrive on a challenge, and one that's the harder, I think, the better. When I look back at that flipping show you did, 71 Degrees North.
Oh my goodness.
Is that the hardest thing you've ever done?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that is. I mean, again, they asked me to do it. I said no because I couldn't swim, and also I hate the cold. So I was just like, this is not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, way to go.
But then I thought, do you know what I mean? I was like, no. But you know, and not to be morbid, I've had a couple of friends pass away in the last 10 years who've had young children. And I thought, do you know what? I want to be able to know how to swim before, you know, my time's up. I want to be able to conquer my fears. So sometimes I just say, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something, even though it's out of my comfort zone. So it's annoying. It's really, but I love it. But that was hard. And I did cry a lot. I had to really dig deep. But it's that feeling. It gets hard and hard, but the feeling at the end when you achieve it is so exhilarating. You just gotta keep going, and that's why I like challenges. And also, you know, like my family to be proud, my little ones to be proud of me and stuff, and also proud of myself. I think we always have to make sure we feel that if we're living, that we're achieving something. I think it's important.
Just 100%. Just take us through. I was watching some clips last night of 71 Degrees North. You were with Amy Williams. It's quite a good bunch of people you were with, weren't you? Good, you look like you got on quite well. A good support network, which is really important in that environment because you're living obviously together in each other's pockets.
Yeah, it was really important. Amy, I felt a bit out of my depth because everyone there was so good. Like Amy Williams won a gold medal in skeleton, Rav Wilding, ex-cop. Everyone there was on it, and also really famous. And I'm not. These people, I looked at them and I was like, "You're really good at something." And for me, I just think I'm just a gob on a stick. You know, lucky to be where I am. But they sort of just dragged me through it, and that camaraderie, and you know, picking out. Amy and I are really close friends now, and I sort of used her strength. You know, so it's really important to latch onto people who can drag you through, and I used her strength. She wouldn't have won a gold medal without some, you know, tenacity. So I was like, right, I can do this. So, and a bit like you when we were on the boat, you have a great strength, Susie. You focus everything you do, and I was like, yeah, I like her. She can help me. It's always about being with people who can help, but also give something back as well. So that's what got me through. Amy and I were always on a team together, and we did some crazy things. Crazy. We slept in a tent on the side of a mountain, and I was just like, oh, what are we doing? We could fall off this mountain. And I remember in the night we were like, I need a wee. But I held on to that till I climbed down the next morning.
Do you know it's always the basic things that stay with you. I mean, to be honest, the basic thing stayed with me on the boat thing that we did for Sport Relief, because I don't know how much detail to go into, because obviously people may be eating their breakfast, but there wasn't actually a toilet, and we were on board for a week. There was only a... Shall I go for it, Shelley, or not?
Go for it.
There was only...
Go for it.
There was only a sort of... So like a sort of chair kind of thing. And a bag. That's it. That's what it was. And the bag went in the bucket, and then you put the bucket with the contents of the bucket went over the side. And obviously it was a, you know, recyclable, eco-friendly bag. But sometimes when the waves were crashing over, you couldn't get up deck, and you had to pass your bucket to someone to throw it over the side. And the first time it happened, I think we were all like, this was not in the contract. bag. It's just stayed with me. I'm so sorry. I don't normally swear on this show, but there you go. So it is sort of the basic things on these challenges. And when you see these challenges on TV, they are real, aren't they? It's not you go and sleep in a hotel or, you know, you get a sleeping bag. It's proper hardcore. And I take my hat off to you for the amount of challenges that you seem to have put yourself through. But this is what's interesting about you to me. And by the way, I thought you were helping me through on that road challenge. I didn't think it was the other way around. You have two sides, as I'm discovering most people do. I thought it was just me, but Ty Woofenden the other day, the 3-time Speedway champion, the same thing. He's got this extreme side. He might be watching this morning. He usually does hi, good morning, Ty, if you are. And then he does yoga and he loves the bird song and hangs out with his daughter. So you've got these kind of two different opposing personalities. You do these extreme things to push yourself. You work really hard. You work harder in this industry than anybody that I know. And you play the cello and you've got a classical radio show.
I know, it's weird actually, because when you look at me, you just think, she's a bit rough around the edges.
No one thinks you're rough. Fit. The Geordie love just saying fit.
Oh, I love a bit of Geordie.
But yeah, talk us through this other life that you have, and that I don't think that many people know you for, really.
No, I know, it's really strange. I don't think there is a bit of side to me. I do feel things. I'm quite emotional, and I love people. And I want to help people, and I suppose. I think we have to care about ourselves. I've always thought you do have to. Sometimes you have to make difficult decisions in life. I think, actually, I have to do this for me, or this is too much. And I think classical music does that. So I don't know why. When I was younger, I played the cello a bit. It was strange. First person, I've never been exposed to classical music at all in my life. I had no clue. I didn't even know who Mozart was. And then all of a sudden, my mum was like, "Listen, you can play the cello," and I was like, "Play the cello." And I was just rubbish. I was rubbish. But I kept this cello. So every time I moved and did stuff, this cello was in the attic. And then I suppose it was around the time when I started doing challenges on television that I thought, do you know what? That cello, when I was younger, got the better of me. And I remember looking at it once, I thought, you are not going to get the better of me anymore. I'm going to try this. So I found a cello teacher near me and I started playing, and I didn't tell anyone, just would go along, and I was rubbish. I sounded bad, you know, that screechy, horrible, oh. But then I met this guy who lived on my road, lived on his own, and he's a music teacher. So I thought, I messaged him, and I was like, hi, doing that neighbourly thing. And he said, you need to feel the music, Angellica. And then I took my grade 3, got a distinction. I was like, whoa. And I kept playing and playing. And then somebody saw, and I only posted once. I think I did a post on my Instagram once with the cello on, nothing. I don't talk about it. And then the guys at Scala Radio they said, we wanted people to present on Scala who were a bit different. Just normal people who like classical music. And, you know, haven't done grade 8 and been to the Royal Academy. And the next thing I knew, I had a radio show. I didn't even have, you know, usually in this business, you have to audition like 10 times for a job. Yeah. Nothing. He just said, I want you to do the show. And I was like, really? I've never done any radio. And that was that. And I love it. I just think it's so good, especially now. We play things like Coldplay music with a, you know, orchestral feel to it, or we play Ed Sheeran, you know, played by the two cellos. Amazing, these groups, just funky stuff. Great for your well-being, mental health, especially this time. Sometimes it's just someone's thought I tried the violin, sounded like something was being strangled. Keep going, mate. But yeah, and I love it. I really love it. I love it. I think we all have so many facets to our character. And sometimes it's nice to show it, but then sometimes it's nice to keep something back if you can. But no, it's good.
So Scala Radio on a Saturday morning, your show, isn't it? So how is that working out at the moment? How are you recording it?
So I'm upstairs in my little attic room. This, you know, everyone's got a room in their house where they don't go in. And then coronavirus happened and I had to step into this room.
I've got a room in the house that I don't go in. It's the Geordie Lodgers. I don't think I'll ever be able to go in there ever again.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
It's like having a teenager. Cool one, though. You've got that to come. No, not a cool one. Just a messy one. Sorry.
Oh, bless.
Carry on.
I think
with your room that you never go in.
Yes, and I've got like a little mic and do everything from there and stuff. And actually, the radars for radio came out today, and my show has gone up loads. And I've had thank you to everyone who listens to my radio show.
Yeah, so it's 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, isn't it, your show? Why do you think the figures have gone up, Angellica? Because of the situation that we're in and people are discovering it and liking the warmth of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, I think more than ever, radio has become so prominent. Remember that before this, everyone was like, oh, not sure about radio, and it's all about streaming and stuff. But yeah, I think it's about that. And also because we've got great presenters and great music. Oh,
yeah, we actually have got some really great presenters on there. A couple of my favorites. And how do you get on with the? Because I love radio. I mean, I've just deputised a little bit. I've never had my own show, but I enjoy it. But I feel like this thing that we do here with the Breakfast Club is radio. I mean, I'm looking at a phone, but it's radio because you're just talking and you're just chatting and you're looking at messages coming in and it's not television, it's radio. And for me, I love radio actually more than television. So do you have the time on that show to be able to chat a little bit and feel relaxed? Yeah. It's not link in, link out, because that kind of radio does my head. I can't listen to it actually.
Oh, you would love it. You'd be great on Scala because they actually brought me in. They said, just talk about what you want. There was no like, we have to hit this, we have to hit that. Angellica, if you want to talk, my producer Mark is amazing. He's like, be yourself. That's what people want. They don't want to be like, you're playing this because you have to. And he's like, if you love the music, say you love it, but we love it all. And I know, and I get a list of all the music, and I can be like, yes, or I say, can you play this, can you play that? And we're quite reactive. So if listeners message and say, can you play this, we'll play it. So it's just totally amazing and just how life should be, you know, spontaneous and reactive.
That's a dream show right there. I mean, that's like going back to the 70s. When I look back, well, not even the 70s, even going back sort of 10 years when you had broadcasters. I mean, people like Bob Harris, Johnny Walker, guys and girls that loved music, that played, that would discover tunes and talk about them. That's my favourite radio. You know, I love that whole Nightfly feeling, and even when I listen to Steely Dan and I listen to that song, The Nightfly, it makes me yearn for you know, late night DJs just talking about stuff. I mean, OJ does a nice job, but you know, there is a playlist to play, and I just like discovering new music. And anyway, if I had a job on yours, I'd play Mantovani all the time, I think. So can you play us on the Breakfast Club some Mantovani next time you do your show?
Okay, no problem. Well, I'm going to mention you actually, because I'm going to tell everyone about the cake that I made for you.
And the
Suzy cake.
And the rubbish Suzy cake that I actually made.
I won't mention that. That can be our secret.
Yes. Now, let's just go back. There's only 8,000 people listening, fine. Let's just go back to your early days of television and how that kind of happened. Because you were the face of CBBC for, I think, 6 or 7 years, which is where you met Otis Dealey, who's obviously mutual friend to both of us.
Yeah, I know, that was crazy. I never thought I'd be a TV presenter or two. I thought it would be fun because I like to mess about and have a laugh. Someone said, "Oh, can I go in a smaller room? Should I go closer and not talk so loud?"
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And CBBC sort of launched me, and I was on BBC One every afternoon, just having fun, talking. You know, children's telly was so big then. It was so, it was on BBC One just before Neighbours. it was incredible. But that's where I learned how to do live television, learned all my skills and stuff. So I'm very grateful to the BBC for taking me on when I was so new. I had no idea. My audition was awful. I think I had to talk about myself for a minute, and I just went, because most of us don't think, I think we all think, what could you say about yourself for a minute? But we all are really interesting, but it just seems a bit narcissistic. But I was terrible, and I remember I went to the producer off camera and I went, that was so rubbish, don't give me the job. And I talked for a minute about why they shouldn't give me the job, and they gave me the job because of what I spoke about off camera.
Brilliant.
And that, sorry, I was trying to eat some cake then, just trying to take an opportunity to guzzle some chocolate. That opportunity was more linking in between shows than actually presenting a show until what came along first? Short Change, or how
Short Change came first. That was, I think I was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's where I met Otis, and Short Change was brilliant because at that time it was like the junior watchdog to Anne Robinson, who was massive then. And I remember meeting Anne Robinson once, and she's like, "I like your show. It's very good."
At you?
No, she just in the corner of her mouth, she's like, "It's very good. You're very good."
I mean, that's actually stood you in good stead when you look now, because you do a lot of factual entertainment, and you've got that great show with Martin. I mean, it's on ITV, isn't it? You've been doing it for what, 3 years?
Yeah. I love that show.
The Martin Lewis Money Show. I've worked with Martin a little bit on bits and bobs. He's absolutely brilliant, mad, but brilliant mainly, and full of energy like no other, and he's so bright. What
Martin does, I mean, everyone always says to me he talks too fast and he's crazy. He cares so much that if he can say someone a pound, he feels that he's done his job.
Yeah.
And he's on it. He works so hard and he's relentless, and we have this great relationship. I remember when they said, "Oh, would you be interested in doing it?" And I said, yeah. And I met him, and before he said anything, I said, "Martin, this is your show. I would be there to help facilitate for you. I'll be there for you." And that's why we have this great relationship, because he's got all the facts. I make sure he gets the facts out, and I make sure we get up on air on time. But it's great. I mean, we're on to air tonight, so today I'm going to do some homeschooling, and then I'll driving in. I'm just in the studio, and we've got so many questions about COVID-19 and how it's affecting everybody. So many questions. It's insane. We've got people online the whole time, 24/7, looking at questions and stuff. But I love working on that show. And you're right. I think working on CBBC and doing Fact Ent there has allowed me to do that now. Do you know what I mean? And work on a great show like that. And I love the show because it's about helping people. It's about, it's a public service. It's great.
It's really good. I've got a question for you about that show, so I'm just going to throw this at you. Carl Whitehouse said, "What have you learnt from Martin Lewis?"
I've learned that you shouldn't be afraid to want to protect your money. Because beforehand, I would just, with the bills, I'd just stick on the same tariff with the same provider. And he's made me realise, actually, it's not that difficult to change and to be like, actually, I can save that, £100 I can save this year. That's something I can put towards something else. He also, if it wasn't for him, I would not have a new mortgage, because I'm a freelancer. Everyone was saying, no. And he was like, no. Let's do it like this, go to this place, go to that place. So he helped me with that. And also he's just generally about the way I shop, where I think about things. Sometimes I'll say, "Martin, I'm thinking about doing this or getting this. What do you think?" And he'll go, "Do you need it? Angellica, do you need it?"
No, you can't ask a girl that.
I'm like, "Yeah, I do." How can I get it cheaper?
But your house is not just one freelancer, which is always a bit tricky, because you never know what the future's going to be. Mind you, a lot of people that have got a job don't know what the future's going to be either. But you've got 2 freelancers in your house, you and Michael doing the same job. You've got 2 small kids. So how does it work, the balance of looking after the kids and both of you working and both of you keeping your careers going? It must be a bit of a balancing act, that.
Yeah, it's a massive juggle. So, I mean, we only look after the children. It's only us. We don't have any help. And that's what we want. We think everyone should do what they feel is best. But, you know, I like being around as much as possible. But, you know what, things for Michael was quiet. He didn't get much work, so he had to take a massive, well, look inward and say, can I carry on because I want to provide? So he now teaches, because he was a trained teacher before he got into television. And now he teaches part-time. So that's how he helps out, and that's great because that means he's around for 3 days, and then I look at the other 2 days in the week and think, okay, what can I do? So it's tricky, and I think a lot of people have to sometimes come to a point in their life where they think, I might have to change. And what's difficult is if you haven't got the choice, because our business, you know what it's like, if you haven't got any work and you still want to do it, there's nothing you can do. And that can make you feel bad. So he had to be like, okay, what can we do to make this work so I can still provide and we can still, you know, have that family unit. So good for him. So he teaches, and I think he's a brilliant teacher. And maybe he'll come back to TV, maybe he'll do other stuff. But he does bits and bobs like talking heads and stuff like that to keep his hands in it. But yeah, it's a juggling act. I've got one of those diaries where on the wall, so I only take a job when I know that the children are going to get picked up or whatever and stuff like that. So it's just juggle, juggle, juggle.
Yeah, so I guess people know you at the moment for the Martin Lewis Money Show, but also the One Show, which you've been on. Is it 14 years you've been on the One Show for? Don't say yes.
There's only 2 presenters, I think, 2 of us, who've been on it since the start, me and Lucy Siegel. So I think I was still on CBBC when they gave me that, and I started reporting on it. So that long. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 2006 I think it started.
Yeah.
And obviously you've done loads of reports for the One Show. Which ones for you stand out as being memorable for whatever reason? Which ones have you enjoyed? Which ones have surprised you?
Oh my goodness. What I love about the One Show reports is that everyday people have a story. Normal people. Because sometimes people say, oh, you know, what's the most amazing famous person you've met? I can't really remember them, but I just remember ordinary people who've let me in their home. I've sat at their table, they've made me something to eat, we've had a cup of tea together and spoken about things. I remember this lady who was, during the war, she had to be sent, I think it was Wales, to stay with her family. And I went with her to revisit her family, the family that looked after her. And that was emotional. I mean, because she went back to a place where she left her family, but these people took her in. And I remember we walked by the beach arm in arm, and I'll never forget that moment. And we both cried. So things like that where you're just like, oh my goodness. And then I've done some random things where I've been, you know, helping to deliver a litter of, you know, dogs, and like going, oh my goodness. So it's totally, you know, all been with WI, helping them and stuff. It's been so random. I've had laughs, I've cried with people who are amazing up and down this country. So just the reports have been just, I remember once as well, I did this series for the One Show where I was filming with the oldest person, the oldest pilot in the UK, the oldest racing car driver. And so you love this. I actually got in the car with the oldest racing car driver, and I was like, oh my goodness. Because mostly it's quite nerve-wracking. This guy was in his 90s, and I think we were driving around Silverstone. And I was like, what am I doing? But this guy, he was on it. Just because he was in his 90s, it didn't matter. And I was like, I love this. This guy is still living his life. And I'm in this car, sat next to him, and it was amazing. So some really random stuff. But it's great doing the reports, and it's also nice now, sitting on the green sofa sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
when I see you on the green sofa, I clap a little bit because I like you in that role. I like to see you sitting there. And I'm completely honest, and I'm obviously biased, but I would just like to see you sitting there all the time because I like the way you look. And I wonder what the secret is for the success of the One Show. Do you think it is the random nature of it, that you go from having a massive Hollywood star sitting on the sofa to, you know, some buried treasure in a field somewhere and a cat stuck up a tree, that kind of thing?
I mean, it is random. It is random. And you have to, I like to be all over my script because sometimes you have to think about those junctions. And sometimes you'll be like, okay, how are we going to get from blue tits to a Hollywood film? You do have to think about it, and you do have to take time to do it. And sometimes, I mean, people always say to me, oh my goodness, but what I think the success of it is that it taps into somebody will be interested in that story, and then somebody will be interested in that story. So it umbrellas everybody who watches it. But it is bizarre. I mean, I remember, the highlight for me on the One Show is when I interviewed Oprah Winfrey. And so my boss rang me up and he was like, Angellica, he called me Belle. My boss told me, Belle, what are you doing next Tuesday? I need you to cover. I said, okay. And I was like, I'll see what I'm doing. I was looking at the diary. You're interviewing Oprah. I went, what? And he just put the phone down because he knew I'd do it. And so I was really nervous because that's somebody who I'd watched for a long, long time. Because, you know, you have guests on who are amazing. But when it's something, you know, somebody who's made an impact on your own personal life, it's quite a big deal. But I remember and I never asked for pictures. You know, usually people, they're forthcoming and stuff. I thought, this is probably the only time I'm going to interview Oprah Winfrey. So I said, oh my goodness, I was like, shall I ask? Do I ask? Do I ask? So I was like, hi, Oprah. And she's like, would you like a photo? And I was like, yeah, please. Can I have a picture? And I said, because I used to watch you all the time growing up. And it's just amazing to meet you. And she's like, is this a moment for you? And I was like, it is. So we took the picture. But you know when you go to do a picture and somebody's looking at the wrong, they're not looking into the camera bit, so their eyes are off. And I had a split second to say, do I tell Oprah where to look? Do I say, Oprah, you need to look over there? And I was like, Angellica, and if anyone knows me, they'll know that. I'll just say it. It's better just to say it. I said, Oprah, do you mind looking there?
Oprah, 6 o'clock, for God's sake.
Do you know what I mean? And then she took the picture, and then we took the picture. She goes, yeah, that's the shot. And I was like,
it's almost like, I mean, I'm surprised she didn't curtsy because she's like a royalty, really, or a president. Or how did the interview go? What we talking about?
She was amazing. We were talking about this film she did with Reese Witherspoon and Mindy Kaling. And she was good. I mean, she holds court. We went down to the green. I met everyone before we went onto the show. I always think that's important, just so you can get your bearings and find out what they're like. And she holds court. It's, you know, like Moses and the Red Sea.
Well, I didn't know Moses, but I know him.
You don't know him personally? Oh, he's one of my mates.
But I never been. It's like apparently. It's what happens to him when he walks into a bar. The crowds part, the women line, and then he goes to the bar and buys drinks. What told me. Yes. Anyway, back to Oprah.
That's what it's like. Everyone's just like, it's Oprah, it's Oprah. She's pretty incredible. So.
She is incredible because, well, she's just somebody, isn't she, that you respect and that everybody respects, I think. And I mean, I guess apart from Oprah, who I would love to interview Oprah as well. I'd love to interview Barack Obama. Have you ever had any contact with Barack? Have you got his number?
No. Oh, you'll get there. I bet you'll do it.
Who knows? Let's ring him and ask him if he'll come on the breakfast show.
Yes.
The Breakfast Club. Let me throw a few more questions at you, lady. James Donovan says, Angellica Bell, please could you tell us where the Fountain of Youth is?
Do you know what? It's probably because I laugh so much. I'm always smiling. Even when it's quite stressful, I start smiling. It's that much fun. I'm like, oh, really?
Why is it? I look at a picture of you on CBeebies and look at a picture of you now, it looks like 2 years ago.
I love you. That's why I love you.
No, I think you're an alien. You're an alien like the lodger. A beautiful
Maybe
alien.
I've got a picture up in the attic. Dorian Gray.
Yeah. Right, let me just have a look. Oh, Bruce Driffle said the scariest thing you've been asked to do. We did talk about some of the challenges that you've done earlier, but is there one of the scariest things? I mean, it might not even be a challenge. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Okay, there's two that comes to mind straight away. When I was on CBBC, you had to do ridiculous stuff. I remember I had to do a piece to camera at the top of the largest vertical drop roller coaster in the world, and I think, or in Europe, and I think it's in Germany. So when you have to do a piece of camera, there's not much time. You know, you've got to nail it, especially if you're on a roller coaster and things. So we go up all the way, and we just travel it up, and I'm trying to remember this piece to camera, and the camera, there's like a GoPro in front of me, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So it took like, it seemed like half an hour to get to the top.
And it does that like tick, tick, tick,
yes,
tick, doesn't it?
And I don't even like roller coasters that much. Well, not ones that just go down and your stomach's up here for like 5 minutes. So I remember thinking, oh my goodness, so I did this piece of camera, and I thought, do I have enough time to do it again? Start to do it again, I didn't have enough time, and I just go, just literally the drop. That's horrible, it's horrible. Luckily, I got it right the first time. The other scariest thing is another challenge I did when I did the attack. So I did this show called Tour de Celeb. About 4 years ago. I'd never had a bike, couldn't ride a bike. And they said, will you cycle a section of the Tour de France?
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought, yes. So I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go on a static bike, a watt bike, for 3 hours a day to try and get bike fit. And then I had to learn how to stay upright on a road bike. I mean, that's not sensible. If you cannot ride a bike, do not go on a road bike first. Get on a normal little whatever. But I had to, and then that's the only time I thought I might not do this. Everyone around me thought I couldn't do it. The trainers, they were like, she's not gonna do it. And I think because they thought that, and it was on camera, I thought, I'm gonna do it, I've got to do it. And also I wanted to learn how to ride a bike so that I could ride with the children. I didn't want to be one of those parents that on the sideline going, have a good time. I want to be in there, I want to be immersed in it. Mm. Suzy, I remember standing on the start line thinking, I'm going to fall. I don't know if I'm going to make these coals, the gradient, but I finished it, and it was the scariest thing ever. I fell off once, but I don't know how I got to the end without getting swept up in one of those vans. But I did it, and I didn't come last. Louis Spence came after me, and someone else.
It's because he was doing too many pirouettes, but well done to you. You are a trailblazer, I think. But I just can't get over the fact that you couldn't ride a bike. Did you not ride a bike as a child then? What were you doing?
Didn't have one. Couldn't afford it. Seriously, couldn't afford it.
Not a second-hand bike or anything.
And also, I don't think we lived in London. Well, so we didn't have space. I was in a flat. Didn't have it.
Yeah, it wasn't the thing then.
You get on the bus. We just used to get on the bus, the train. So, and also then when you get older, you're like, I can't be bothered. Who wants to learn how to ride a bike? It's good to learn as a child, and then you just get on with life, isn't it? And then you just think, oh, I never did that. It's like swimming. Didn't do it. But I didn't do the swimming because this afro hair does not bode well in water. I'm not going to lie.
I've seen you in water. You look damn good all the time. It's so frustrating being a friend of hers.
I love you. I need to hire you. Can you just be my rent-a-crowd?
Yeah. I need a job right now.
No, we've already sorted. Suzy, we sorted you out. Jungle, MasterChef, or Bake Off. So listen, everyone who's watching now, can we get this sorted? But I want the jungle. I want to see you in a bikini.
Oh, nobody wants to see that. Right. Shut up, Lodger. Everyone's no, heavens, no, let's not unleash that upon anybody. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but not now. Hey, listen, it's been really fun chatting. Thank you for the cake recipe. Everybody, it's online, so go make your Suzy cake.
Make it.
Do you know what? It's actually really nice to learn a bit more about you. You're just such a spark of energy. Every time we spend any time together, you just kind of ignite this passion in me to do a bit more. And I think that then rolls on to other people, and that's how it is in life. And I thank you for your energy this morning.
Don't make me cry. We're in lockdown, it's all emotional. Don't do that. I can't wait to see you and hug you and squeeze you so tight.
Big virtual hugs for everybody, everyone in the Breakfast Club. I tell you what, everybody press their hearts now in the Breakfast Club, and that will be our, there we go, there's loads of love coming up now. Look, that's a virtual hug. Everybody have a great Thursday. Angellica Bell, we love you. Keep doing what you're doing, keep juggling, keep, you know, letting Michael in on camera for a few seconds. And happy Thursday, loads of love, and hope to see you
Lots
soon.
of love to you. Lots of love to you and to your lodger.
Yeah,
he's amazing. Geordie Lodger, come and lodge with us.
She goes, come and lodge with them. She said, yes, she loves
definitely.
You.
Come on, bring it on.
She actually said, I love you. And like Carol Vorderman didn't say, even though you did.
What's that?
You thought Carol said, I love you. And you said, I love you back. And then she didn't know what to do with herself. Angellica does actually love you.
I love Angellica. I'm going to move in.
He's coming.
I'm going to move in.
He's all yours. I might come with him.
Both of you. You're more than welcome. See you soon, lovely.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Be safe. Look after yourself.
You too. Bye-bye. I know it's a bit weird sometimes when you have two presenters talking to each other, but I just think that Angellica's different beyond presentation, and she's got a degree in politics, and she plays the cello, and she, you know, she jumps in ice holes, and she does crazy stuff, and she's fascinating, and she's so much fun. And on that boat challenge we did, she really did keep the energy high on there when we were all, you know, just losing it. She's great. She's just one of those great people in the world. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Breakfast Club. Tomorrow we have another great person, and for me, the forever queen of daytime TV. And I hope that I'm right in saying that she's going to come on, because I haven't heard from her for a couple of days. But I have sent her a message this morning. So the gorgeous, wonderful, talented Fern Britton will be on tomorrow. So we'll be chatting television, books, writing, life in general, gardening stuff, lovely things, and it'll be a lovely start to Friday. So have yourselves a great Thursday, and I will see you in the morning. Big kiss from me and the Geordie Lodger.